Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Wesley, and I'm your moderator this evening. And I want to welcome everyone to the question and answer session, the first of two question and answer sessions for the Lojong class from Karma Triyana Dharmachakra Monastery. And we've been through now, I think, oh gosh, 4 or 5 classes. And so it's your opportunity to ask questions and to get clarification on points that you are unclear about. And let's see, Yunten, thank you first of all, thank you for being our host with the most. I appreciate that. And I also want to thank Lama Mark for being our translator this evening. But I wanted to be sure to find out if the preferred way to ask questions via chat, or is there another option?
In general, I think we found it best to be the chat. On occasion, we've used raised hands, but we then get sometimes some problems with some people raising hands and some people in the chat, and it loses sequence that way.
Okay, very good. Well, then we will keep our eye on the chat then. In that case, I'm going to open up my copy of the chat to see if there are any questions, and we'll start this evening with our motivation. And we should hopefully have the Bodhisattva motivation with us this evening, because after all, that is what we're training in as Bodhisattvas in training. And so if anyone has questions about this, you can put them in the chat. So we'll start with the Bodhisattva mind, raising the Bodhisattva intention, and hopefully that will inform all of our questions this evening. So I think we're ready.
Yeah. And we do have Chinese translation now. It will be in stream, not simultaneous.
Okay. Okay, Janice has a question. Are you set? Are you set, Lama Mark?
No, you go ahead. I thought you cannot hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's good.
You can
Yeah,
hear me?
we have you in so that if there are any Chinese questions, that you can translate them for us.
Oh, but I think we should do simultaneous. Otherwise, we cut the QA time to half. So what I'm saying, Lama Kathy just can do the regular QA if there's a Chinese student.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Yeah. So you switch me to this translate. I'll do it simultaneously.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you do that, Yunten?
Well, yes, but if there's a question in the chat in Chinese, then that's not going to work.
Then you will switch back.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, got it. All right. Thank you very much. Technical difficulties, please stand by. Okay, Janice's question. Janice says, what are the differences between the lay vow and the refuge vow? I would appreciate it if someone could clarify this for me. Thank you so much. Okay, so I think we'll start, let's see, alphabetically, and that would be Lama Losang, and then follow, we'll see if anybody else wants to.
All right, my pleasure. So when we usually the first coming onto the path of Buddhism is to take refuge in what are called the 3 jewels: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the noble Sangha. So that is the first thing that we do. And the Shakyamuni Buddha, who is the Buddha of this particular time, and his teachings are still available. And the Dharma is, of course, the teachings that we take our refuge in. and the Noble Sangha is the third. Just briefly, the lay vows, there are 5 lay vows, and they consist of to refrain from killing, to refrain from stealing, to refrain from sexual misconduct, to refrain from false speech, and to refrain from using intoxicants. So that is the difference. Does that answer your question? Do you want further on that?
Let's see. So Janice, can you, does that clarify it for you?
And if any of the other lamas want to chime in on that one, but that is the basic.
Okay. Lama Rob, do you have anything to add for Janice's question? So Lama Rob, nothing to add for Janice's question?
Yeah.
Her question is, what is the difference between the lay vow and the refuge vow?
Oh, sorry. I was having trouble with the unmute.
Okay, no problem.
So as far as Lama Losang covered the refuge vow, which is sort of becoming the vow that you take to become a Buddhist, putting your reliance upon the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And then I believe the other is in reference to the precepts. So no killing, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, no false speech, no intoxicants. And for lay people, we wouldn't take the like monastic vows. It would be too difficult so instead you take these vows that you promise to keep to reduce one's negative karma.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate that. Hey, by the way, Yunten, Khenpo Sangye is trying to unmute but cannot. Can you assist him?
Certainly, but I don't know what his what.
Oh, that's right, because he's not told us what name he is here under. Okay.
Right.
Well, Khenpo Sangye, if you can hear us, you can
You can put the name in the chat. That would be.
put the name in the chat, and that'll take care of it. Okay. Okay. Okay, thanks very much for adding that information, Lama Rob. Lama Yeshe, anything else to add?
Yes, I'd like to just add a little bit. It's been very good. Nothing wrong what's been said, but with the lay vows, you can take one or as many as you want, up to all 5, and they can be taken for a specific duration of time, or they can be taken for a lifetime.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so that's our first question. Let's see. It looks like we may have several questions now. So this could, let's see. And so Janice says the refuge vow is the first step. And yes, that would seem to be the answer. That taking, in fact, I remember one time Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche was talking about the the refuge vow, and he said that it serves as a foundation for all of the other vows. Once one's taken refuge in the Buddha as the teacher, the Dharma as the path, and the Sangha as the community, all other vows are based upon and rest upon that one. And it furthers that one, and it furthers the others. So refuge furthers the other vows, and the other vows further refuge. So thanks for that follow-up, Janice. Now, Brett has a question. He says, the instruction for the groundwork for a period of meditation says to repeat the following prayer 100 or 1,000 times. I pray for your blessing, my guru, great and completely worthy spiritual friend. I pray that you will cause love, compassion, and bodhicitta to arise in my mind. And the question is this to be taken literally? Oh, 100 or 1,000? I can actually answer that question. The answer is the more the better, but I have a feeling that that since the people being addressed by Jamgon Khantrul in this text were monastics and had a lot of time on their hands and might actually have the time to recite it 100 or 1,000 times, that would be great. I remember Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche, when he would give the refuge vow, he would encourage people to recite it 21 times in the morning and 21 times in the evening. But then he would smile and say, but if you're busy, 7 times in the morning and 7 times in the evening would be great. And he said, but if you must, 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. So I think there's some play built into that. But he did also say, the more the better. So I hope that's helpful. Okay, great. I see a nod going on. All right, very good. Thank you.
Okay, I can hear you and I can talk to you now. But I'm
Oh.
sorry, I have no camera on my laptop
That's
because my laptop is as old as myself. So
Well, welcome.
so
Khenpo Sangye.
I actually got the question from Janice on personally also. So maybe even you have already, most of you have already answered very clearly. Can I add a little bit for her?
Sure.
Because she has
Absolutely.
requested to me personally on Messenger. I didn't see that until now.
Okay.
So her question was, what is different between refuge bow and lay bow, right?
Right.
So I also actually don't know exactly what the lay bow means here, but I think lay bow, the definition here is something that is a vow that can be given to the householder. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Yeah,
Yes.
if that is correct, then actually then my answer is refuge bow is also lay bow, but not all the lay bows are refuge bow. Because when you have taken a lay bow, then it's called upasika or upasika or upasiki, female. In Tibetan we say genyen and genyen ma. Genyen and genyen by Tibetan word, and if you just take the refuge vow, you already receive one of the lay vow, and then that is and then when we classify or we lay vow is divided into 6 categories. So the lowest, can I say lowest? The lowest one. What is the best word? The best one, highest one, and lowest one. Can I say lowest ones?
You could say that.
Is there a better word for that?
From the highest to the lowest, from the lowest to the highest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then just say, just to take a refuge bow means you already have lay bow, but that's the lowest one. Then you can go as high as 6 level up. And the highest one is called the Brahmachari Upasika. So Brahmachari Upasika is something that you don't have to wear the monk's robe or shave the hair. Other than that, you have to keep all vows. You cannot have sex at all, not even with your partner and so forth. Like that, for example. And then after you take the refuge vow, then second is you take one more vow on top of that. Like say, I'm going to take a vow of not killing, and then not lying, like true, and not having sex with the other people except my partner, like that, go up and up. Then if you take all the vows, including saying that all top of these four men root downfall, if you say I'm not going to have sex at all, no matter what, then that's called the Brahmachari Upasika, still lay vow. So different is, if you ask refuge vow is lay vow, then answer is yes. And if you ask all the lay vows are called refuge vow, then answer is no. So that's the difference here. Okay. Janice, I have answered you, so I'm not going to answer you personally.
Thank you, Khenpo Sanjay. I really appreciate you saying that.
Yeah,
But yeah, because
sorry again, my English is not very good. So usually when I translate for Khenpo-la, I do lots of preparation, but when I answer here, I have no preparation. So my English is not as good as Okay,
it's perfectly understandable, and I
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Okay, the next, Janice has a comment. She says, I have been following the 5 rules, the 5 precepts, lay precepts, mostly after I took the refuge vow, as I didn't know what the lay vow was before. I am clear now. Thank you. Okay, very good.
Oh, you're welcome. You're
Okay,
welcome.
she says, thank you, teachers and Khenpo-la. Okay, great. Now, the next person, Yuri, has a question. He says, or she, sorry, I know we are encouraged to make our practices every day. For example, Nundro, but sometimes it seems hard to find the correct motivation. Is it okay if we practice even though we feel distracted? Okay, who would like to start with this? Any one of the lamas like to start with this one?
Well, I would only say that it's always good to practice. And we are not totally mindful of all of our practice, but that is our intent. And it doesn't mean don't practice if you cannot be 100% present in your practice. But that is the aspiration, as well as, with our pradimoksha vows, the vows that we've been talking about are often for individual liberation in Buddhism. And these are the foundation vows for Buddhist ethical discipline and focusing on personal conduct and the aspiration for personal liberation from suffering. But we want to bring this aspect. This is lojong, the training that we're doing, the cultivation of bodhicitta. And this is really the essence of both the Mahayana and Vajrayana path. So this is how we teach. So don't be too concerned if you kind of lose your focus, but of course try to, and that's what shamatha is for. Shamatha is part of the lojong practice, and that's where we become mindful of when we lose our concentration and we bring it back again. Not to have a lot of worry about that. We are not yet fully capable of maintaining that concentration, but shamatha is how we train the mind. So, lojong, this particular practice is about mind training. And the first thing that we do in that regard is shamatha. So we practice our shamatha before we do anything else. And we train our mind. This is mind training to bring that kind of focus and concentration into our practice. So perseverance furthers, and I would say continue your practice.
Thank you. Thank you, Lama Losang. Any of the other lamas have comments on this question?
I'd like to say something.
Sure, please.
We aspire for perfection, aspire for bodhisattva motivation, but we also see that we have faults, and it's good to see them. My favorite saying this month is, if you're going to clean house, you have to see the dirt. And so it's wonderful when you realize that you're not as highly motivated as you would like to, and you do it and you aspire to do better.
Oh, thank you, Lama Yeshe. I remember reading a article by Khenchen Trungpa Rinpoche, and he said something very much the same. He said, it's always good to check your motivation before you do your Dharma practice. And he said, if you don't like your motivation, he said, just change it. And we, of course, Western Dharma practitioners, sometimes we think, well, how is that possible? But as he said next, he said, well, it is your motivation after all. If you don't like it, you can change it. And I love what you had to say. Both lamas had to say, and the idea that, you know, it's always great to have a good motivation, but sometimes we start out with kind of murky motivation and we have to try to tighten it up a little bit and make it as good as we can, make the motivation as the best we can. Other comments from the lamas?
Lama Kathy, there's a question that might have slipped by, which is by Tom from Chicago KTC.
I did miss that. Okay, let's take a look. Thanks for bringing us back to it. I appreciate that. Oh yes, Tom, thank you. Yeah, because I zipped past it. Please discuss the differences between relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. And is relative bodhicitta important to achieve before ultimate bodhicitta and making that a way of life? Thank you. Okay, so please discuss the differences between relative and ultimate bodhicitta, and then answer the question, is relative bodhicitta important to achieve, or I'm guessing he means perfect, before ultimate bodhicitta and making that a way of life? Okay. Would anyone like to start us off with this question? If no one volunteers.
That was one of our topics. I think that Khenpo Ujin started with ultimate bodhicitta, and the question is, you know, first we have to develop relative bodhicitta, and that takes a little time for us. And again, one of the primary practices that we've been talking about in the Lojong is how we practice, and we talked about Tonglen as the way of practice. So relative bodhicitta refers to the altruistic intention, you know, to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. We start with that, as Lama Kathy was saying. This is kind of how we do it, and it involves cultivating compassion and loving kindness and the aspiration. And Lama Yeshe also talked about aspiration to help others, and it is expressed through the practical actions and aspirations, such as wishing to alleviate others' suffering that we have been teaching in the Tonglen. So that is how we cultivate that. And ultimate or absolute bodhicitta refers to the direct realization of the true nature of reality, specifically the wisdom of emptiness and shunyata. And that is really the higher upper levels of bodhisattva practice and ultimately Buddhahood. So that insight is all phenomena lack inherent independent existence. So we recognize that, and that is ultimate bodhicitta, and it is profound, non-dual awareness that transcends conceptual distinctions between self and others. It is an advanced realization, and ultimate bodhicitta is the realization of one's Buddha nature and the unconditioned, unborn nature of reality. So this is something that takes a little time to cultivate. I hope that brings a little bit of awareness and answers the question, at least at some level.
Thank you, Lama Losang. Anyone else from the lamas would have some comment on this?
To simplify, I would say relative bodhicitta is the display of the mind, and ultimate bodhicitta is its nature. You work with the relative until you can work with the ultimate. Ultimate nature of mind goes by other names such as Mahamudra. So it takes a while to actually do that. The reason that you'd want to do ultimate bodhicitta is that no matter how good your relative bodhicitta practice is, there is a subtle level or subtle stain karmically, and to completely remove that, you have to be able to rest in your natural state of mind while doing that particular practice. I don't know, I would say that you have to perfect relative bodhicitta before ultimate bodhicitta, but that you practice relative bodhicitta until, you can do the other practice, ultimate bodhicitta.
Okay, thank you, Lama Rob. Yeah, what you're saying reminds me of a quotation directly from the book. Jamgon Khantrul in the section entitled "The Need for Mind Training" at the very, very beginning of the book, where he's explaining why it's important to train in bodhicitta, he says it straight out. He says, true ultimate bodhicitta will not arise in the course of experience of beginners, that's like us, but he said relative bodhicitta will definitely arise if a person trains in it. And with the development of relative bodhicitta, he says, ultimate bodhicitta will be realized naturally. And then he says, so this is why we must meditate energetically, he says, on relative bodhicitta at the beginning if we're to achieve any meaningful results with respect to bodhicitta. So that's what Jamgon Khantrul had to say in the Great Path. Others like to add something. Okay. All right. So I hope that's. Yes.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes, please.
Because you guys speak so well, I am inspired to speak my broken English. You have explained very clearly everything. Well, many of you already did, so I have nothing more to say that. But I just would like to say a little bit about the relative bodhicitta. So no one mentioned here yet. Relative bodhicitta is further divided in two categories. Aspirational bodhicitta and applicational bodhicitta. So I think here we're missing the applicational bodhicitta. So of course, I don't have to say anything about the aspiration bodhicitta because all of you have talked well about that, and then just having a wish to help others or to become an enlightened being to help others is not sufficient for us. So second is called the bodhicitta of application or applicational bodhicitta. There are so many translations. That's my problem in English. And since English is not my native language, I don't know which make more sense, but I'm following the translation that most people use. So most people say aspiration bodhicitta and action. Some people also say action bodhicitta. So action bodhicitta is very important. Anyway, action bodhicitta means to train on the bodhisattva path relatively. And then if you ask how many categories, then if we elaborate, then this is countless. The practice of bodhisattva is countless. But if you summarize them, then it could be included in 6 parameters. So 6 parameters. So after having this aspiration bodhicitta, then to train oneself in 6 parameters is very important. Then relying on these 2 aspects of relative bodhicitta, the aspiration bodhicitta and action bodhicitta, then one day you will realize the natural, the ultimate bodhicitta, which is nothing but our nature of our mind. And it has so many different names. You can also call Buddha nature or Mahamudra or innate co-emergence wisdom or so many names. Anyway, these are not different. But in order for us to realize that, we have to have enough accumulation of merit and wisdom. Therefore, we have to work well on the 6 parameters to accumulate enough merit and wisdom to realize the ultimate bodhicitta. Okay, that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Just to practice my English.
We appreciate your practice of your. Thank you, Khenpo Sangye. It's wonderful to hear from you. That's great. Oh goodness. Okay, so let's see. Let's go to the next question because we have I think at least 1 or 2 more. So here we go. Again from Tom. Wanted to ask about beneficial ways to gain merit. I may call on Lama Rob for this one because he's going to be teaching on this next week, if I remember correctly. For example, he asks, can spinning a mani prayer wheel bring us merit? What are the best ways to gain merit while doing our mantras? Do we set an intention prior to starting? And then says, thank you very much. So Lama Rob, because do you want to, spoiler? Do you want to?
The best way as far as accumulating merit is what we do in the practice. You start with setting your intention first of that of bodhicitta, and then whatever your action that you're doing, you maintain that motivation as best as you can. And at the end of your practice, you dedicate the merit for whatever activity that you've done for the benefit of all sentient beings. As far as trying to pick the best way to gain merit, it would be more of what you're comfortable with, because that's what you're willing to do. And then try to keep your mind, be mindful of your motivation, and try to work on that as best as you can. There's just so many things. You mentioned the Mani wheel. Yes, spinning using a little Mani prayer wheel. There's like the big Mani wheels at KTD. If you've been to KTD, they have those there. Mantra, that's wonderful. Do mantras, Om Mani Padme Hum. This assumes that you're comfortable with tantric practices, and you're comfortable with a particular mantra. I picked Chenrezig, and you have the right, authorization and so forth to do. Chenrezig is public, so you don't need an empowerment or anything for that. So it's really up to the individual. What are you comfortable doing, and your motivation while doing it?
Thank you, Lama Rob. Other lamas, would you like to chime in?
Oh, we were talking about taking refuge. That is the first way that we cultivate merit, and keeping our vows. We also spoke about those 5 lay vows. So observing ethical conduct, such as keeping your precepts and living morally. These are all ways that we do that. And taming our mind, to keep us from wrongdoing, which is creates the opposite effect. So we're developing the mind through meditation and cultivating wholesome thoughts. Everything has to do with our motivation and taming our mind. So, giving dana, we talk the Khenpo, the Sangye mentioned the 6 perfections, practicing those 6 perfections. And the first one of those is, generosity. So being generous, giving to those in need, and otherwise, and honoring and respecting others, and serving and helping those in need. And, circumambulating the temples or stupas, those kinds of things. Lama Kathy has a lot of experience in that. And so this is how we do it. Cultivating merit in Buddhism centers on generosity and ethical living and mental development, and supported by actions. We talked about, you have to practice. And this is the way we do it to align with the Dharma.
Thank you. Thank you, Lama Losang. And in fact, there's a rather exhaustive list that's going to be talked about in the next section of our text. After discussing the way to deal with adverse conditions via relative bodhicitta, and after learning how to, this is point 3 of the 7 points of mind training. In point 3, the first slogans have to do with dealing with adverse conditions with relative bodhicitta, love and compassion. The next slogan is how to deal with it through ultimate bodhicitta, wisdom and emptiness. And then the last section is called the 4 applications. And these are accumulating merit, confessing evil actions, making offerings to gods and demons, and making offerings to dakinis and protectors. So that's coming, those are coming attractions. And Jamgon Khenpo gives like I say, a pretty exhaustive list. He says, gather merit to the best of your ability through physical, verbal, and mental actions, such as exactly what's been said: offerings to your guru and the 3 jewels, service to the Sangha, torma offerings, offering candles, making satsas or clay reliquaries, doing prostrations, circumambulating, taking refuge, arousing bodhicitta. And he says, particularly using the 7-branch prayer and offering mandalas. So there's lots and lots of ways. And there's one thing that occurred to me, and that was instead of saying merit, sometimes you could say we're accumulating virtue or cultivating a virtuous mind. So whenever we're doing negative things, we know what that feels like. When we're being stingy or angry or any of those things, when we're doing negative things, we know what our mind is like. But we also know what our mind is like when you're making offerings, and you know what your mind is like when you're being generous and helping people and all of those kinds of things. So we are slowly and gradually accumulating a virtuous state of mind. We're cultivating a virtuous state of mind. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said, a virtuous state of mind is really excellent. And this is why Tom's question is so good, because he said it's really important to accumulate merit, because it's very difficult to realize Mahamudra or ultimate bodhicitta. And he said, but if you have a mind that is full of virtue and merit, then that is a good soil for your wisdom to grow from. So I remember something he said about that. So we've got lots of things we can do.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that.
Yes, please.
Well, just to add things, this is looking at it slightly different. We've got the 10 non-virtuous actions. There are the 10 virtuous actions, which are the opposite. Instead of killing, protect life, protect property, protect persons from being, shall we say, mistreated with sexual activity, and on and on and on. And just to repeat what's already said, is after you proper motivation beginning, then the action, and then dedicate the action. Even the slightest action, dedicate the action. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Lama Yeshe, because it does come down to our intention, doesn't it? So if we have that on our mind, that's what we're cultivating. So this is good. Okay, let's see. There's another question. Brett is asking, so the practice of relative and ultimate bodhicitta is not necessarily sequential, but it's best to start out with relative bodhicitta. Would one of the lamas like to start us off on this?
Well, I'll begin this one.
Sure.
Just briefly, in the 7 points of mind training, slogans 2 through 6 are on absolute bodhicitta. Relative follows. Now, I'm not going to try to guess why it's put that way, but you're introduced to it right away. And then you do the relative bodhicitta with the idea of it being like a dream and so forth. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you. Okay. Other lamas have comments on this.
Yeah, we have to start with relative bodhicitta, although in the text it does start with ultimate bodhicitta, but that comes afterwards. So we start with the things that we talked about, and the major part of the practice is Tonglen. So that is the way we cultivate bodhicitta. Tonglen minimizes and gradually uproots the conflicting emotions of our self-clinging and engages us physically and mentally and emotionally and verbally in developing tolerance and patience, and compassion and loving kindness. That's where we start. And yeah, so Khenpo Rinpoche explains that, enlightened beings have reached enlightenment by working for the benefit of all sentient beings. And beings remain in samsara or suffering because they are working for themselves alone. I think that's a direct quote So the essence of the 7 points of mind training is the cultivation of bodhicitta, and the vehicle for doing that is Tonglen. We do have to start there.
Thank you, Lama Losang. Appreciate that. So it does seem like it's a little easier for us to start with the relative bodhicitta because we're relative beings right now, and we're living in this relative world, and then being able to cultivate love and compassion is I think is easier for us than instantly understanding emptiness and wisdom. But your mileage may vary. Yeah, Brett's saying, I did notice the order of presentation. Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Good. Okay, Art has a question. Art says, as we are progressing through the Lojong training and building the practice into our lives, are there any additional supplemental resources that could be suggested to enhance our learning? Perhaps books, videos, and so forth. I have been reading through the Dharma Paths book online via Zoom, along with the Jacksonville KTC, and have wondered if there was anything else that could help augment this opportunity, meaning the classes that we're giving here. Oh, yes. Art, there are quite a few books. I'll mention a couple of them to start with. There are 2 translations of the Great Path of Awakening. The one that we're most familiar with is the one by Ken MacLeod, but in the book The Intelligent Heart, Dzigar Kongtrul Rinpoche provides yet another translation of the root of both the root and commentary text for the 7-point mind training. So that's and so the book Intelligent Heart is Dzigar Kongtrul's commentary on it. But there are commentaries by, my goodness, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche wrote a commentary on the 7-point mind training called Training the Mind in Love and Kindness and Compassion. In fact, I bet other lamas, probably you guys know the names of some other commentaries on it. Anybody want to share some more?
I liked Kraleg's Lojong, the 7 points of mind training. It's excellent.
Okay, yeah, Tralek Rinpoche, that's right. He had a commentary on it as well. Lojong is so famous, so many different people have commented on it. It's a really powerful text and practice. Then if I'm trying to think, any other things, Lamas, can you remember any other books in English on this?
Much anything on Tonglen would also be appropriate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's many books on that, many different kinds of approaches to cultivate bodhicitta.
Fantastic. In fact, I met a gentleman last week who's working on a podcast about Tonglen practice. So when I find out about that, I'll let you know. Let's see. Anybody else have some resources?
So I was going to say I do like Tralek Rinpoche's commentary on it. I would say I think as we're working through there's 60 different slogans. So there's 7 main points, and then within those 7 main points are associated 60 slogans. The slogans are things that are relatively easy to remember, which is the intention. Depending on what it is, there may be some like additional research to understand or get some grounding in what the slogan is referencing. I might suggest the original text. Jonsrom Kongtrul, I think, gives the short kind of explanation. I think that's very good for the getting the slogan down and getting the basics down. To modernize it for a Western audience, I think Tralek Rinpoche does a good job of reaching a modern Western type audience. He was very knowledgeable both in Eastern and Western philosophies, and so he can cut across those two. Other material, would be the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. That covers essentially the basic practices such as generosity, ethics, discipline, and it gets into very minute detail as far as the distinctions and ways to practice and so forth. It's also considered sort of the introductory text in the lineage, although I think calling that particular text introductory is a stretch.
Right.
So, but those are some sources, just some general.
Another one is that's related is the Karmapa's book on the 8 verses of training the mind. It's a wonderful little book with good information. It's Lojong.
Hey, Yunten, do you remember the title of that book?
Give me just a moment, and my memory will be
right.
there for her.
That's
And
great.
Lama Kathy, I think in your class too, did you talk about the 8 stanzas of thought transformation and wheel
Yeah.
of sharp weapons and 37 practices of a bodhisattva and guide to a bodhisattva's way of life? And
Oh yeah.
there are so many, as we say, but those are all good ones as well.
Yeah, those are all mind training texts. They may not be based exactly on the 59 or 60 mind training slogans of Geshe Chikawa Yeshe Dorje, but they hold us to the same idea of generating the bodhisattva mind and then having to follow through on it, even in our most difficult moments. Yeah, so all of those books encourage mind training. And Pema Chodron, of course, wrote one called Start Where You Are, a famous one. Trungpa Rinpoche wrote one called The 7-Point Mind Training. So yeah, there's a bunch.
The one by the Karmapa is Finding Genuine Practice.
Wonderful, thank you. Finding Genuine Practice. Okay, by Origin Trinley Dorje. Okay. So yeah, I think this is good. Yeah, this is just the beginning, guys. You can study about Lojong and you'll be doing it for the rest of your life. Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said one time, he said, once we've taken the Bodhisattva commitment, he said, you will never be bored ever again in your life, because you will either be working to tame your own mental afflictions and patterns, or you will be reaching out and helping other beings. So he said, you're never going to get bored again, which is awesome, you know.
So I just
There's a question by Art that I can answer, and that is, yes, these books are available from Nansi Bangso that we've been discussing.
Yes. That's right. And it benefits the monastery too, to buy them from Lamse Bangso. The next question, are we done on the books, book recommendations? Anybody else going once, going twice? Okay. Ada has a question. Hi teachers, my motivation to generate bodhicitta is that one day I will be able to do the preliminary practices, as bodhicitta is a prerequisite of it. But I find it hard to feel or desire for bodhicitta this way. I try to reverse the sequence and make the bodhicitta my genuine motivation, but I have failed so far. Any advice or comment on this? So I want to make sure, Ada, I want to make sure I understand your question. I think what you're saying is, oh, I know what you're saying. Yes, because in my class, I mentioned that Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said that it was very important for people doing Nundro practice, the preliminary practices, to really train in the Bodhisattva motivation before they start their Nundro practice. So I see why you're saying that. I find it hard to feel or desire for bodhicitta this way. Okay. I tried to revert the sequence and make bodhicitta my genuine motivation, but I've failed so far. Well, guess what? I think we're all failing, Ada. I think we're all failing to make it our continuous motivation. I think until the moment of Buddhahood, in fact, in the Great Path of Awakening, Jamgon Kongtrul says that even when full Buddhahood has been obtained, there's nothing to do except benefit sentient beings endlessly. So we're working against lifetime after lifetime of lots and lots of karma of being selfish. So, but we have to get started somewhere, and this is it. This is where we're going to get started. I have a lot of friends who are in the 12-step recovery tradition where they're trying to recover from addiction. And they have a saying. They say, fake it till you make it. And what this means is sometimes we have to artificially cultivate a feeling of love and compassion for ourselves and others. We have to work on doing it artificially and just tell ourselves that that's our motivation. And so it won't be perfect. So you don't need to wait until your motivation is perfect. You may have to start your practice even before your motivation is perfect. I bet the other lamas will have some things to say about this.
Well, part of our mind training, Lojong, is the 4 thoughts that turn the mind to Dharma as well. And so you have to generate this kind of feeling, and it begins, one of the things that it begins with the 4 thoughts that turn the mind. These are we talk about these different foundations. This is the ordinary foundation. And to realize how fortunate we are to have this opportunity of a precious human birth, and that this precious human birth is impermanent, and we should use it wisely, and how we create karma through our actions, and how our happiness or suffering is a result of our positive and negative actions, and the unsatisfactoriness of living in samsara, and the realization that the nature of samsara is suffering and resulting in the continuous cycle of rebirth in the 6 realms of existence. So that is part of this training. And if you haven't heard all of the different teachings by our lamas and khenpos, at this point, I really encourage you to even review them if you have heard them. And certainly if you haven't, this is a complete practice, and it is really quite wonderful. And then, we also have what are called the 4 immeasurables, and we're also cultivating this realization of the 4 immeasurables. And we say, 3 times or so, may all beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. This is love. We say this is love and compassion. May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. And we take pleasure in seeing the well-being of others. And so may all beings never be separated, from great bliss that is free from suffering, and equanimity for all beings. May all beings rest in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion, and having the same great love for all. So this is known as the 4 immeasurables. So these 2 aspects, the 4 thoughts that turn the mind and the 4 immeasurables, are ways that you can cultivate this feeling and bring it to your meditation.
Thank you, Lama Losang. Lama Yeshe, you have anything to add?
I'll add this, that just before I entered 3-year retreat, Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said, it all depends on your motivation. Now, if my motivation would have been perfect all through the 3, or if I would have quit the 3-year retreat as soon as my motivation went downhill, I never would have completed the 3-year retreat. That you keep, well, to quote Pema Chodron, fail better.
Thank you. Thank you, Lama. Oh, gosh. Any other encouragement for Ada?
I would say that there are many ways to generate bodhicitta. It'll go back to the individual, what resonates for you. The 4 points that turn the mind to Dharma definitely is a traditional one, and that's how this entire text starts. But again, what's effective for you? I mean, part of development is learning about yourself and learning what's effective. number point 13 or slogan 13, this was Lama Kathy's last one, was be grateful to everyone. If I was to modernize this a little bit, it would be called a gratitude practice. And a gratitude practice is very in vogue right now. Outside Buddhist circles, it's very in vogue. So you can say that to your friends and they will think, you know, you don't have to explain as much. But that learning to be grateful for small things to things around you may be a way of generating that relative bodhicitta for you as an individual. And that can help get away from the victim mentality, which is a common thing in our culture right now, and start to find, you know, what little things that you can be grateful for, you know, authentically, and that can help work in developing more positive feelings, and that in turn can help generate more positive feelings, you know, to yourself and to others that you've benefited or have benefited from.
Thank you. Thanks, Lama Rob. Anyone else from the Lama group? Okay, so hopefully, Ada, I hope this will be encouraging to you. You're doing great. Just keep going. What did the Dalai Lama say? Never give up, no matter what's going on. Keep going. Okay, the next question is coming from Marianne. I'm going to try to you know, interpret this, but I think I got it. Many years ago, before I knew of KTD, I was introduced to Tibetan Buddhism through the new Kadampa tradition. Okay, that was after years of self-study following the Mahayana path. Let's see. I went to a medicine Buddha. Oh, I see. After many years of self-study following the Mahayana path, His Holiness Dalai Lama, I went to a medicine Buddha empowerment, but never returned to the Kadampa Center after having a discussion with a nun there about choosing a path. I was drawn strongest to the Vajrayana. Should I redo the medicine Buddha empowerment? As my understanding is that the Kadampa, maybe not new Kadampa tradition, is the same branch of the Vajrayana. Okay, so I have no question. KTD is offering the exact tradition I am meant to be practicing. I spend a lot of time offering both Chenrezig and medicine Buddha mantras. May this question benefit others. Okay, yeah, thanks very much, Marianne. I appreciate it. I think, oh, I say, I get the idea. So you went to a medicine Buddha empowerment, but you never returned there. Should you redo it? Okay, so, oh my goodness, Lamas, do you have some advice for Marianne?
Well, there are three parts, you know, to do a practice. You have the Wong or the empowerment as you received, and the reading transmission, and then the instruction on how to do it. I really don't know that much about that particular lineage, so I really can't comment on it. Usually after you have an empowerment, that suffices, but you have to, the reading transmission is usually part of that as well. And having the direction and having the instruction on how to do it is essential. So I can only add that. As I say, I'm not familiar with the how they practice the Kadampa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she says, yes, I had those also. Okay. And by the way, Ada says, thank you for the teachers. That's great. Other folks want to add, of our Lama people want to add to Marianne, the answer for Marianne?
We might want to hear from Khenpo.
Hey, Khenpo Sangye. See if we can raise Khenpo Sangye.
You have to unmute yourself, Khenpo Sangye.
Let's see if it'll work. Maybe.
You're still muted.
Yeah. may not be available. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you.
Well, I can add something. whether-
Sure.
and
Sure.
it's simple that if you feel more comfortable doing it over again, that's fine. It's another blessing. And it'll clarify instructions that maybe you missed the first time. There's a lot of repetition in Vajrayana Buddhism as well as Mahayana Buddhism, and a lot of blessings.
Right.
So I'd say that Kadampa, Kadampa by itself, like the text that we're studying is a traditional Kadampa text. Kadampas originally, they took the words of the Buddha as direct sort of commands. There's not a lot of gray in the way that they practice. As far as New Kadampa, my limited understanding is it's tied to the Gelugpa tradition, and they kind of broke out from that. When you receive the empowerment, the Long, the Wong, and when you receive the teaching instructions and the empowerment and the reading of it from a particular tradition, you should follow that tradition as is. So if that's the case, like if you were to receive an empowerment from, let's say, a Nyingma teacher or something like that, it'd be the same thing. You'd follow the instructions the way that teacher presented it. So you'd have to be able to go back to a teacher there to clarify questions. You couldn't go to a Karma Kagyu teacher and ask them to clarify another tradition's instructions. So that's something to consider. In that mindset, you might take the Medicine Buddha Empowerment and then follow it the way of the Karma Kagyu, or if you're comfortable, follow it the way that the New Kadampa teaches. Just don't mismatch. Don't take one from A and one from B and come up with C kind of thing. So whatever tradition you want to follow, instruction wise, follow and respect that tradition. Just understand that unless you run into a situation where you have a very unique teacher who knows both, traditionally there were stories of great masters that they would follow one particular tradition, they'd master it, and then they would learn other traditions, Nyingma, Sakya, Gelugpa, to benefit students so they could teach that student in accordance with their tradition. So just something to keep in mind as far as, based on your comfort level, your interest level, you may or may not want to take that with a different teacher and follow it. It goes back to what you're comfortable with.
Okay. Thanks very much. Marianne answers, she says, yes, thank you. I think it's best for me to receive again in the Karma Kagyu tradition. Yeah, agreed, no mixing. Very helpful answer. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. No, that's good. That's good. Okay, let's see. Wait just a moment. Okay, let's see. All right. So I feel like that's a good place to leave this question. Let's see. I remember something that Khenpo Karthar Rinpoche said. One time a gentleman came up to the microphone of the 10-day teaching and said, oh, I've received empowerment from this lineage and that lineage and a practice from this one and this one and this one. Now I don't know what to practice. And Rinpoche just smiled, he smiled at him and said, well, I understand that can be very confusing. Absolutely, it can be very confusing. And he said, that's why he said, where I come from, meaning Eastern Tibet, where I come from, they say one teacher, one lineage, one practice. He says that it makes it a lot easier. He said, you don't have to think about so many things.
Yes.
And so anyway, I thought that was good. Let's see. So yes, and Khenpo Rinpoche also said that well, he didn't say this about, yes, he did. He said that each time you take an empowerment, you are in a different place. And so it never hurts to get it again, especially if you know the teacher and the tradition and so on. People would always ask him, can I go to this empowerment? Can I go to that empowerment? He would say, well, he said, I don't know that Lama personally, so I can't say yes, but I can't say no. He said, but what I will tell you is that once you take an empowerment from a teacher, they do want to see you again. And it might be hard to follow so many different teachers. He just kind of left it at that. Anyhow. All right, let's see. More questions. We have come to the end of the questions. Let's see. And are there any other questions out there this evening? These have been great questions, by the way. Excellent, because they're based on you're working with the material. So that's I really appreciate this. I hope that your study of Lojong is making you happy. I had a person come up to me not too long ago who had just begun studying Lojong, and he said, wow, I had an experience the other day of being really angry at somebody about something. And he said, and then I used the 3 objects, 3 poisons, 3 seeds of virtue slogan. He said, and it poof, it dissolved. My anger just dissolved. And he said, I never imagined that such a thing could happen, he said. So I said, well, your results may vary. There might be ones that are easy and ones that are not so easy. But the principle is very meaningful. And once you learn how to do it, you can use it on all kinds of difficulties and mental afflictions. But it always makes me so happy to hear a person try these things out. They try them out and they actually work. And so it's really lovely.
I found my camera.
Hey,
Let me join.
all right. You found your camera. All right. Let's see how it works. Well, I don't know.
At least
We don't
we
see
can
you
hear
yet.
you, but we can't see you yet.
The thrills and excitement of modern computing. Well, while we're waiting, anyone else have comments, questions? Uh-oh, I think we lost him completely. Did we lose him completely?
I guess.
Yes.
He disappeared. Oh my goodness.
Hmm.
Well, any last comments, Lamas, before we wrap up for this evening? If there are no more questions, we could end early, but what do you guys think?
Well, I have just one more thing, and that is, as we're just talking about empowerments and teachers and traditions and so
Sure,
forth,
sure.
there was a long, long list of incredibly wonderful books that could be studied on this. And you don't have to have all of the books, read all of the books, understand all of the books. Pick a few and reread and reread and reread. And the other thing is that we live in a wonderful time that as soon as you turn on social media, as soon as you turn on the internet, as soon as you go out the door, you're confronted with all kinds of wonderful opportunities to practice. So let's practice.
Thank you, Lama Yeshe. Absolutely. I appreciate you sharing that, because that's true every day.
So the only point I'd make is the goal of the focus is to work with one's mind, to change one's mind, to change one's habits, and then the resulting karma, to accumulate merit and to purify karma. So make sure that that is actually somewhere in the mix. Don't just, be a pure intellectual. Just one of these practices is very profound. If you take the four thoughts that turn the mind to the Dharma, and death is sort of the stick to get your attention. And if each day you think, okay, this
I
is the
think this
day.
way. I'm pointing the wrong way.
Oh,
There
hello.
you are.
There
Oh,
you
I have-
are, Khenpo Sangye, Lama Rob.
I don't know where to put my camera. I'm putting the wrong way. Let me put it right. Okay.
This will take a minute. This will take a minute. There you go.
Okay.
I think okay now.
Okay, good, good. Lama Rob
Yay.
is Lama Rob.
Sorry,
Yay.
Lama, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
It's okay. It's okay. But I just wanted
Okay.
to explain. I wanted to explain that we'll get to you in a second. But it's nice to see you. And
Oh,
I'm
nice
glad
to
you're
see
able
all
to
of
figure
you.
it out.
So taking death as an example, if you think each day, I might die today, how do I want to use this day? And that can help clarify as far as more easy to discard things that are kind of a waste of time and refocus yourself. So any one of these slogans, these 60 slogans, are very profound, but the goal is to integrate it into your way of thinking, into your mind. Traditionally, you'd memorize texts like this completely, and then you would then be able to use it and integrate it into your mind and get the benefits from practice that way. That was it.
Thank you. Thanks, Lama Rob. No, I appreciate it. It comes down to changing your attitude. Khenpo Sangye, did you say you had something to add?
Maybe not now because I didn't get that question very clearly.
It's okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
sorry.
okay. Yeah, no problem. I'm just
But
happy
I'm
you're
really-
here.
I'm really enjoying very much all of you listening to all of you.
Okay, Lamas, did you have any other last words or bits of advice? Studying Lojong?
No, I think it's been said just fine. I also just would encourage, as I mentioned before, to please continue with the remainder of the session. And this is the fifth series that we've done. And so there's other ones on shamatha and how we proceed in a very step-by-step way. So I encourage you to take advantage of these teachings, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you. Thank you. This reminds me of something. I was talking to someone yesterday and was able to share with them the link. Let's see, and I'll put it in chat. This is the link. See if it works. Yes. This is the link to all of the accumulated videos in the Dharma Path series. So if you ever think you might get bored, even though Khenpo Rinpoche said if you study Lojong, you'll never get bored. If you ever think you might be bored and want to see some of the earlier episodes in this series, they're all there. I met a person from Columbus the other day who said, "You have Introduction to Buddhism classes, but only on Sunday mornings. What am I going to do? How am I going to take your class?" And I said, "Wait a minute. they have it on video at KTD. So you can use that link to connect you. So there you go.
Did you post that in the group chat?
Oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't. I put it as a direct message. My bad. Thanks very much. Let me see if I can get that. A meeting group chat. Let's try that. Okay, here we go. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I was so delighted to find that because everything that's gone before is there. So all of our sessions on shamatha, all of our sessions on Intro to Buddhism, they're all there.
If I can suggest another link, I'm about to post it. It is the list of the playlists, and so you can go in and start the Dharma Paths 1, and it'll have them all in sequence, which is a little bit easier than picking it out of the archive.
Okay. Okay, playlists all in sequence. All right. I put these in my links in my app, and then I can find them right away. Okay. And there's a couple of folks in here saying thanks, and so appreciate hearing from everyone. Well, then I think we are complete for this evening. Anything else for the benefit of beings? Anything else to add? Well, then I want to thank Khenpo Sangye and
Oh,
Lama
thank you
Yeshe,
very much.
Lama Losang, and Lama Rob, and in Yunten, host with the most, and all of you for taking time out of your evening to spend with us. Yeah, thank you. And dedicate your merit from this evening's session to all suffering beings, of which there are so many, and make the aspiration that the teachers live long and they have vast Dharma activity, and that all of practitioners of Dharma have successful practice, and all beings be free from fear and free from danger. So thank you, everyone.